Забросили?
Две мины, эти противотанковые, наверное.
А куда забросили?
Секунды того, чтобы сказать нет. Да, мы готовы. Потом говорят, вас будет вести птичка. Даже этот маршрут у меня он в голове уже отпечатался. Потом поднимаетесь вверх на дорогу.
Стойте.
Да я ничего, нормально.
Нормально?
Давай, пойдем, аккуратнее.
Аккуратнее.
Все, давайте, парни. Давайте.
They were trapped in a city surrounded by destruction, where every day became a fight for survival. Elderly residents say they spent months living in darkness, searching for water, and waiting for a chance to escape. Then, according to reports from Russian media, soldiers arrived with a dangerous mission: to find the civilians, guide them through a risky route, and bring them out alive. After the evacuation, their first words revealed a story filled with fear, exhaustion, and hope. Amid the intense fighting near the front line, a dramatic evacuation mission in Konstantinovka has drawn attention after reports from Russian media described how civilians were taken out of the conflict zone. According to those reports, Russian soldiers carried out a carefully planned operation to rescue residents who were still trapped inside the city, including families, elderly people, and children who had spent a long time living under dangerous conditions. The operation was described as extremely difficult because the area remained close to active fighting. The soldiers had to move carefully through damaged streets, destroyed buildings, and areas where danger was still present. According to the Russian reports, their main goal was to locate civilians who were still hiding in basements and damaged homes, check their condition, and guide them towards safer areas. One of the most important parts of the evacuation was the use of drones. According to the reports, drone operators helped maintain communication between the soldiers and the civilians who were waiting to be evacuated. The drones were used to monitor the area, guide people through safer routes, and make sure the evacuation teams knew the condition of the people they were trying to rescue. One message reported during the operation showed how the soldiers first contacted the civilians. "You are being contacted by the Russian army. How many people are with you? Are there any wounded?" The question was meant to understand how many people needed help and whether anyone required urgent medical assistance. The soldiers were trying to gather information before moving civilians through what was described as a dangerous area. According to the Russian report, the evacuation was not completed in a single movement. Several groups of civilians were taken out over a period of 3 days. Among those evacuated were families, elderly residents, and children. The operation reportedly involved soldiers from the 4th Separate Motor Rifle Brigade of the Southern Group of Forces. To support the evacuation, different types of equipment were used. The reports mentioned surveillance drones, fast light vehicles, motorcycles, and ground robotic systems. These tools were used at different stages of the operation to help create safer routes and provide support while civilians were being moved away from the danger zone. One family was among those who had been waiting for a chance to leave Konstantinovka. According to the report, once the evacuation began, the family was gathered and guided toward the extraction point with the help of drones. They were reportedly kept under constant observation and communication throughout the journey. The drones played a key role by helping direct the civilians while keeping track of their movement. Every step had to be taken carefully because the area around them was still considered dangerous. After reaching the evacuation point, the civilians were transported to a safer location, where they were given warm tea, food, and medical assistance. For many of these people, leaving the city was more than just a change of location. It meant escaping months of fear, uncertainty, and difficult living conditions. One of the rescued women said that the worst moments were slowly becoming a memory. "The bad times are starting to fade away," she said. Inside a simple shelter after the evacuation, several elderly women sat with Russian soldiers who had helped bring them out of the city. The room was modest, with a wooden table, plastic cups filled with tea, a package of cookies, and bottles of water placed in the middle. For these women, even simple things like clean water and a warm drink had become extremely valuable after everything they had experienced. One woman, wearing a gray scarf, described how difficult life had become before the evacuation. According to her testimony, published by Russian media, she had lived without electricity for almost a year. "We lived for a year without electricity," she said. She explained that at first they survived by using generators while fuel was still available. But when fuel became impossible to find, they had to search for other ways to get a small amount of power, even using available batteries just to turn on a single light. She described a life without gas, without proper heating, and without reliable information about what was happening around them. Another woman talked about the struggle to find water. She said her family had 13 people, but they had to survive with extremely limited water supplies. 13 people in one family, 10 liters a day, she said. According to her story, they had to walk to wells to collect water, while facing the danger of fighting and drone activity nearby. "Water was more valuable than gold. We counted every single drop," she explained. The winter months were especially difficult. The women described freezing temperatures, damaged homes, broken windows, and the struggle to stay warm. According to their testimony, they even melted ice using candle flames just to get enough water to make tea during extremely cold weather. The evacuation process itself was also described as dangerous. According to the Russian reports, when the soldiers reached the streets where the civilians were located, they discovered that some areas were believed to contain mines. Because of this, the evacuation had to be carried out slowly and carefully. The soldiers reportedly created routes that allowed civilians to move away from the danger area. During the operation, Russian reports stated that 2 soldiers were wounded while helping evacuate civilians. One elderly woman described how difficult the journey had been for her. She said that she had fallen several times because she no longer had enough strength to continue walking. According to a testimony, one soldier called for help from his teammates. Despite carrying heavy equipment, the soldier picked her up and carried her when she could no longer move on her own. She recalled that at one point, she asked them to leave her behind so she could rest. But according to her account, the soldiers responded, "No, we have orders to get you out. We will support you. We will not leave you." Another emotional moment came when 2 young soldiers approached an elderly woman and offered to help her walk. When she asked their ages, they told her they were 18 and 20 years old. The woman said she was surprised because they were still very young. According to her testimony, the 2 soldiers helped her by holding her arms and guiding her step by step through the evacuation route. The Russian reports presented these stories as an example of a military operation focused on helping civilians during a dangerous situation. They described the combination of drones, vehicles, careful planning, and direct assistance from soldiers as the reason many residents were able to leave the area. However, as with many reports from an active war zone, information about events on the battlefield often comes from different sides, with different perspectives. The accounts and claims presented in these reports reflect the viewpoint of the sources that published them. Beyond the competing narratives surrounding the conflict, the experience of the civilians highlights the human cost of war. Behind every military operation are ordinary people trying to survive, protect their families, and find a safe place away from the fighting. For the residents who were evacuated from Konstantinovka, the journey represented more than simply leaving a dangerous area. It represented a chance to escape months of uncertainty and begin searching for a safer future.